and closed and locked the door, somehow it shows up and is shocking in its realness. Which leads me to the question I have for us today. Where is God most real for you? Where can you reach out and hold the wounded hand of Jesus? It's powerful when it happens. It's a powerful moment. But I know for me, most of the time, that's not the reality that I live with. My reality, most of the time, I feel like I can barely see my own hand in front of my face, let alone hold the hand of Jesus. We live in a world where we see pain and suffering and confusion all around us, sometimes even within us. We get sucked down into the muck and the mire, the hurt feelings and the regret. If I had only been there. It's an entirely human thing to do. I think that's exactly where the disciples were that night. They gathered together in the room, they shut all the windows, they locked all the doors, and they hunkered down in fear. I think our tendency as humans is to want to wrap our arms around ourselves to protect ourselves. It walls us off. It shuts us out and it leaves us alone. It was true of the disciples that night, but it was more true even so of Thomas. He was hurting and grieving, locked out and alone. He needed more. Jesus showed up in the midst of the disciples, showed them his hands, showed them his feet and his side. And even though they ran and told Thomas the news, he needed more. He needed to reach out. Reach out and hold on. Be held fast by the wounded hand of Christ. This actually is a theme throughout the Gospel of John. Through this whole story, again and again, there are examples of people who just plain need more. The word of a friend or an acquaintance is just not enough. People need to see it for themselves, to feel it for themselves, to hold fast to that hand for themselves. This pattern starts in the very first chapter of John. Philip, one of the disciples, says to Nathanael, "We have found him about whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus, son of Joseph from Nazareth." And Nathanael replies, "What good thing can come out of Nazareth? That town? Nothing good comes out of Nazareth. Come on. What can you be talking about?" And all Philip can reply is come and see. Nathanael has to encounter Jesus and draw his own conclusion, which he does. 3 verses later, he is saying to Jesus, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Later in John, the woman at the well, she runs into town after meeting with Jesus and says to the very people that shunned and ostracized her, "Come and see a man who has told me everything I have ever done." Now, John says that many of those people believed on the basis of the woman's report, which is a little shocking, but many more believed because they heard Jesus themselves. The story ends with some of those very townspeople saying to the woman, "It is no longer because of what you said that we believe, for we have heard for ourselves, and we know that this is truly the Savior of the world." They had to hold fast to the wounded hand of Christ themselves. Fast forward to Easter morning. Mary runs and tells the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." John doesn't really say if the disciples believed her or not, but it does say that hours later they were locked in a room by themselves. My hunch is they didn't. They were afraid of the forces that had conspired to bring about the death of Jesus, the very fact that they might be next. And Jesus shows up in their midst and says, "Peace be with you." He shows them his hands and his feet, proving that the risen one will forever be recognized as the crucified one, the one with wounds. And the disciples rejoiced to see him. They tell Thomas what Mary had just told them. "We have seen the Lord." And we know Thomas's reply. Thomas refuses to be shamed into believing, or shamed into at least keeping a secret of his unbelief all to himself. Thomas will also not ignore what he knows in order to believe something that he doesn't know. I think that's part of what makes this story so important for us. Us would-be believers, thousands of years later, reading this story from afar. There's something really important in the scripture here that I don't want to gloss over, but it's a little technical, so stay with me, friends. If you'll look in John chapter 20, verse 23, when Jesus shows up, the first thing he says is, "Peace be with you." Ringing. Thank you. I hear it coming. We're dancing all around it. In verse 23, he shows up and says, "Peace be with you." And then he says, "If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them." And then the second half of 23 says, "If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." Now, the fascinating part of this is that in the original Greek, in the second clause, that reference, the sins, is not actually in that sentence. There's a hole there. So a better translation might be, if you're sticking just sheerly to the words that are on the page in Greek, would be, of whomever you forgive the sins, they are forgiven. Of whoever you forgive the sins, they are forgiven. Whomever you hold fast or embrace, they are held fast. It's a fascinating way to change that phrase. If the second half of the phrase really has nothing to do with sin per se, it changes the meaning of that whole quote from Jesus. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven. Whomever you hold fast, they are held fast. Now, the argument for this translation comes out of a wider reading of the Gospel of John. The Gospel of John itself, theologically, particularly in that context, it's really hard to believe that if Jesus, the whole point for his coming to the world is to forgive people's sins, that somehow, as he's getting ready to leave, says, if you retain the sins of any, they are retained. You just did it. You already said you did it. Sins are forgiven. Grammatically, linguistically, theologically, this traditional reading, the one that's in your pew Bible in front of you, it's just a little unconvincing for the Gospel of John. If this new interpretation is accurate, then the exchange between Jesus and Thomas is a proof of this instance. If you hold fast to someone, they are held fast. Jesus appears again to Thomas regardless of his unbelief and holds him fast through his doubt and into faith. Just as Nathanael, the woman at the well, Mary Magdalene, the disciples, all of them were held fast through doubt, through partial understanding, until they were able to receive what they needed to believe, until they could reach out and hold the hand of Jesus for themselves. Just as all of them were held fast until they received what they needed, so too are we. We are held fast through our doubt and into faith. By breathing the Holy Spirit onto these motley crew of disciples, Jesus makes it possible for them to continue this work of holding fast to others and the accompanying work of forgiving sin. As we live this story of Thomas, we are invited to trust that Jesus will keep showing up, keep offering his wounded hand, and holding together the body of Christ, holding together our very selves. Again and again, he offers that wounded, living body to his beloved ones, holding fast each and every person in the peace he offers when he makes himself known. I really can't blame Thomas. I have a hard time calling him Doubting Thomas because I feel like I would have the exact same response. I need to hold and touch the promises of God in my life. I need to have a place where I can be sure that I can reach out and grab onto those things. For me, this is one of those places where I know if I come here, I can reach out and hold on to the wounded hands of Christ. We've been having a rash of baptisms here. It's wonderful. It's one of my favorite things to do, to meet with families and talk about the promises of God. And we had an opportunity this past Sunday, some of you were here with us, to baptize two beautiful children in the Lord who are about 3.5. And it's the first time that I have had the opportunity to baptize kids who would understand, who needed to understand a little bit about what was going on in this whole thing. And I have to tell you, I was a little intimidated because these kids are smart. And we stood here and we talked about it. And they got to physically touch and feel and play with the promises of God for their life, for them. As we prayed the stories over the water, their little hands, I don't know if you could see it in the back, the whole time, their little hands were touching and feeling the very promises of God for them and with them. There is some need inside of us that we have to hold on to that stuff, that we have to reach out and touch and feel the wounded hand of God. When I come to this place, when I hold your hands, when we gather around this table together and we feel the body and blood of Christ, these are the times that I most reliably and most assuredly know I am holding the hands of Jesus. And I'm not saying the hand of Jesus can't be found out there in the world. It absolutely can and does. But sometimes I think it's harder to see. And I know if I come here, I can reach out and hold on to it. I don't know where you are, friends, in this moment, in this day. If you have come here really desiring to reach out your hand and hold the hand of Christ, I want to offer an opportunity for you to come up, and I can offer to do what I got to do to Lucas and Mackenzie. Take a little of this holy oil and mark the sign of the cross on your hand or on your forehead and proclaim to you the truth that you are a beloved child of God and that you are marked with the cross of Christ and sealed with the Holy Spirit forever. If that would be helpful for you, if you need a place to hold on, I'd invite you to come up, and I would be glad to do that. Pastor Delsing is going to help. Thanks be to God for a Jesus who shows up over and over and over again and offers us a hand to hold us fast. Amen.